What's up, YouTube? What are we doing today?
We're installing a BBK
One side done.
on the S2000.
And we will kind of walk through how to do it on the other side. Small breaks. All right. So to remove the caliper, it's two 12mm bolts, and then the bracket's 17. They're back here, but you cannot see that. Rip. Alright, once you have the caliper and the caliper bracket off, careful not to drop them like I just did. Rest your caliper on a jack stand or something, just to prevent the line from getting messed up. Then, if you don't have these screws holding in your rotors, it should just pop right off. Alright, ease level. How easy was that?
That was pretty easy.
I just made it a lot more difficult than it should have been.
That looked like 10 minutes.
Easily. Alright, so next we need to remove this dust shield, which is kind of a pain. And if you plan on not reusing it, then these will take it right off. Just gotta cut through it. But you gotta take out those screws first. Yeah, 1, 2, and 3 right down there. So let's get working on that. Oh, would you look at that? All right, so once you got all 3 off, that was a pain in the ass, but now if you don't plan on reusing this, or if you do, you can cut it right here so that you can just pry it right off. So let's do that. So once you have the rotor, the caliper, and the dust shield off, you're ready to start with the Stoptech BBK. So, we're going to be using the same caliper bracket bolts, 2 17s, and then mount this right here. Make sure that the threads are facing outside. Made that mistake earlier. Before you put them in, you're gonna want to put some Loctite.
Why do you use the red, not the blue?
Because you don't want that thing falling off on you coming into a turn at 120 miles an hour.
So are you saying the red is stronger?
Yes, the red is stronger.
Interesting.
God forbid that you have to take this off anytime soon, but make sure you get a little nice layer on there. Definitely don't want to cover this thing completely with Loctite, but just enough. Alright, once you have these Loctite, or hand tight, you'll need to torque them down. Oh, on your way back, you grab the torque wrench. Alright. Alright, so I don't know if you can see this, but there's a bolt right. Oh shit, where is it? Oh, it's right behind here. So it's one right here and one right up here. So torque those down to 75 to 80 foot-pounds and call it a day. So once that is on, we are ready to start assembling the caliper and the rotor. Alright, when putting the rotor on, if you utilize the set screws that hold the rotor in place, line those up with the correct holes on the rotor.
That's a thick ass boy.
So if your hubs are old like mine, they're a little rusty, so you're going to have to impact the rotor to sit completely flush, or else the caliper and pads will not fit. See, look at that. Gonna want to slide her in. Like that. Alright, so next we can put in the brake pads. So for pads, we are using the Stoptech race pads. I usually run WinMax, but because of COVID, WinMax has not been supplying their suppliers with too much inventory, so patch selection is kind of tough right now. Thank you. So, to put in the brake pads, you want to take off this bridge right here, which is just held on by these two Allen key bolts, 5mm Allen key bolts. And they're on there pretty, not that tight actually. So just be careful, you don't want to strip it. So once that's back on, you're going to want to put the bridge back on. And I don't know if it really matters, it looks pretty symmetrical, but just to be safe, there's an arrow that points upwards, so make sure that points upwards. That compared to the other side, that was about 45 minutes less than what it took me, but you know, second time's a charm, right? Alright, so now we can move on to the brake line. So this brake line needs to wrap around the coilover and go right there. In 45 minutes, we have the BBK installed. Next, it's time to bleed the brakes. Alright, so now we have started the bleeding process. And what kind of fluid are we using?
Today we'll be using the Endless RF650.
Only the best.
Only the best. Fucking expensive, but the best.
Is it expensive if you're trying to stop? Nah. Alright, so to bleed it, we already did the other side just so that we know how to do it, but there are two bleeder valves on this caliper. Interesting design, but all for good use. So while Matt goes and pumps the brakes, I'm going to be opening up this valve and this valve right back here. Just take the cover off and you can see it right there. Right there. You're going to do it one at a time, so I like to start with the back one first.
Pop, hold.
Alright, now when Matt's holding, you open up the valve and you let the fluid out. And you can see that there's a lot of air in there. So once you see a good amount come out, Don't want to have it open for too long, so close it. And then he's gonna pump it again. And you want to do this until all the air is out, or until you see clear fluid if your fluid is dirty. Go ahead. Dope. All right. So once you have everything bled, basically just clean up and go bed in your brakes. So we'll catch up with you then. All right, so we just finished everything cleaned up. Put the BBK on, bled the brakes. Now we're about to go bed them in. Clearance on them is it's tight. All right.